The Addams Family is directed by Conrad Vernon and Greg Tiernan, and stars quite a huge cast. This guy Oscar Isaac, Charlize Theron, Chloe Grace Moretz, Finn Wolfhard, and among others. And this is the 3D animated CGI version based on the popular comics by Charles Addams, and it's also partly based on the TV series that was also spawned in the 60s.
As well as the movies.
As well as the original films from the 90s. Yeah. And this story, it's kind of a combination of basically the origins of the Addams Family, and pretty much it mainly deals with like
Pugsley
and Wednesday. But as having their subplots. But the main plot deals with like this woman that wants to basically do like a makeover, so to speak, to the Addams' house and stuff. And basically this is what she is. She's equivalent to Edward Scissorhands. How like this town has all kind of looks like that.
Has a bunch of colors all down in their neighborhood, but the house makes the kind of mark go down. So she kind of wants to reinvent it, kind of like reinvent it and stuff, and try to get it all renovate it, make it all nice looking and stuff, like part of their town. Mm-hmm. And she's part of like some kind of talk show where she's getting paid a lot of money to do this. But the Addams Family, they didn't give in. They're like, we ain't changing anything. So then she turns kind of evil and tries to get the townsfolk to try to run them out of town.
Yeah. And now here's a little backstory. Now the movie. Now keep in mind, I've never really read any of the original comics that these are based off of. But I do remember watching bits of the original, like.
60s.
I remember the 60s TV show. I didn't really watch much of it, but I've heard it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Then there was also the cartoon show that he had that spun during the 60s and also in the 90s that I watched.
I watched
the original live action ones from the 90s as well.
I watched a little bit of the 60s one, the black and white one, the original. And the other, I remember seeing the cartoon 90s one vividly. Don't really remember much from that. The most I remember is Addams Family, the live action, and Values.
Yeah.
Those two are classics.
Yeah, those two were...
And you just, like, I don't think you will ever get a perfect cast.
That was the most outstanding and perfectly cast I've ever seen, based on a TV series. Along with, the Brady Bunch did that too, but this one, they actually, like, kept, like, everything... very centered around the Addamses in this, to the point that it's like watching the TV show again.
Yeah.
And basically in that film too, it kept a lot of its dark humor that you could really get away with back then.
Well, and not only that, I think those the first two pushed a PG-13 rating.
It was PG-13.
Yeah.
But they showed a lot more of the darkly humor that kind of pushed almost an R rating.
You would almost think Tim Burton did this.
Yeah, because they resembled them.
And a little fun fact about this, before we get into this film. This has actually been a project in the making for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
The first choice was remaking the actual live action and getting new cast, and that one they knew, and they were going to get Tim Burton to direct it, and he knew right then and there they couldn't capture the original, like what Raw Julia and all them did. And he just said, no, we can't come up with a story that I think would be good. So they dropped that plan, and then they had a live-action miniseries they were going to do, which they actually did a kind of a little tiny trailer hint.
Yeah.
A fan-made thing.
A fan-made thing that actually, ironically enough, has Oscar Isaac pretty much playing Gomez, which I thought, okay, that's perfect fucking casting there.
I think it'd been good, probably decent. They want to turn it into a miniseries on Netflix.
Yeah.
That fell through. Another plan was to kind of do a Nightmare Before Christmas stop motion. Yeah. Which I think would have been pretty cool to see.
because I always figured that going with that approach could match with a lot of like that film's like stop motion effects and stuff.
And that one was going to bring Tim Burton back to try it again. That fell through, and they decided, let's just go make the animated version of it.
Not to backtrack, but there was also, in the late 90s, we also got another Addams Family film that went right on the radar because it was a made-for-TV film. It was called The Addams Family Reunion. And in that film, it had Tim Curry played Gomez.
Which is funny because technically speaking, that's actually Addams Family 3. But because Raw Julia died of stomach cancer, Wednesday and Pugsley in the live-action 90s version got a little too older looking. They came to Angelica Houston and said, will you come back? And she goes, I'm sorry, but I have so much respect for Ron Julia, what he did with that.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to come back. So what they did was, it's technically part 3 per se, but
it's more of a kind of a reboot, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's because that one was actually supposed to be part 3.
Yeah, and then they set it up for a TV series that came out. But anyway, going back to the current one, this one I actually kind of got curious because knowing that it was going to be an animated film, it still kind of got me a little like curious because I still like the Addams Family in general. Mm-hmm. And when I heard the cast they got for this, I was like, that's like the most perfect casting they could have.
Yeah,
it would personally. It would have been great if it was still live action because the cast they got for this, they could have easily done this in a live action format.
They could. Because Charlize Theron, she can turn into anything. Oscar Isaac would have been probably the next best Gomez. Yes, Ron Julia was like, can't talk.
And the original John Astin from the TV series. But I get what you're saying.
And then you're not going to top that. And then there was actually one little hint that they were going to get Christina Ricci back to play
Morticia, which would have been great.
And then I think that Chloe Moretz could have played Wednesday, and Finn Wolfhard would have been he's too skinny.
Yeah, that's why I got him for the voice.
Yeah.
I would probably get someone, like the kid that played Ben, I could probably see from it. He probably would have been.
He does look like
He does kind of look like Pugsley, so I could see him.
Yeah. Golly, I don't know how they would replace Christopher Lloyd for Fester. He nailed that one to the T.
Yeah, but anyway, going into this one upon seeing it, I can honestly say that while the film could have been a lot way better, I still give respect because this one actually not only pays homage to a lot of the stuff from the Addams Family, from the animates, the TV series stuff, but it's also kind of a love letter to the original live action movies.
Yeah, they pay a lot of homage to the live action, as well as you could tell a strong presence of respect for Tim Burton in this.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Because they do a thing with Edward Scissorhands type thing, where they kind of hint towards that, and then they also hint to another film of his that I forgot what it was.
There was also Dark Shadows and that other one he did, Corpse Bride. The animation kind of looks similar to it.
I'm just saying, like, there's references from those, and then
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice with the
that's
whole
another one.
painting, because the lady comes in there and she kind of resembles that big-headed ladies from like Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, that's right.
They were making all the colorful shit.
Yeah,
and they were also going through there and putting X's like off Beetlejuice, like you read my mind. We gotta change this and change that, and they kind of there's hints of stuff. Not as much. I don't want to forget. They also hint a lot of horror films in this.
Yeah, which I was actually surprised by.
Reference it you saw in the trailers, but they also reference Sleepaway Camp.
And also Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And Frankenstein.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great love letters they do this. And that's where we pretty much get to our pros. I not only loved all the great stuff they keep with the tone of the Addams Family, which they're known for with the darkly humor and stuff, because this movie is pretty fucking hilarious in parts.
My pros, the comedy, I thought, was good for kids and for adults. I laughed. I enjoyed it. I love the voiceovers. Everybody
the cast was outstanding.
Great. For the first time, we actually see an origin story how they got the house.
Yeah, which is a neat change. Yeah, because in the other ones they already are there at the house.
Well, because the other ones reference that the house has been in their family for many centuries.
Yeah,
centuries, because in the live action they talk about like all the family's been buried that died in that house and it's just been passed down.
Yeah.
This one they ran out and they do an origin story of they were living somewhere and they ran out and they just had to find a place to live and they started a family in the new house.
Which I do like that change. It was a good way of starting fresh basically.
Yeah.
And the other thing I gotta appreciate too is the animation is like really top notch.
Yeah,
it was almost like a cross between some that Tim Burton would do, and also if you know the Hotel Transylvania films, they kind of look on that level. Yeah. With the kind of 3D animation, which really blends pretty well with it.
It does,
especially when you see like stuff with the houses and stuff, and when they're going around and they're doing all their comeuppance where.
I like how origin this movie is because it also they meet Lurch, who was an escaped convict from a sane asylum.
Yeah,
they adopt him into the family as a butler, like he is in the show. I also really liked how Thing told him to do the
theme song.
Yeah, he credited the theme song.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they also did some of the like he did in the live action where he was doing his own, doing the little scary sounds and stuff. So they paid a homage to that, and it was kind of neat seeing a heavily origin thing.
Well, and I also like the way that the casting they got for Oscar Isaac and Charlize Theron. It's almost like it was like seeing the live action done in animated again, because his performance, it was like I was hearing Raw Julia again, because he played in that very kind of sophisticated manner that I enjoyed with Oscar Isaac.
Another thing I gotta praise here is I did like the point. If you guys remember back in live action, they did the Mamuska, which was a story, a thing that's part of their family, where they did with Christopher Lloyd and Raul Julia's character, where they were brothers, and it put them, brought them together.
Yeah.
And this one, Pugsley's going to do the Mamuska, and it's apparently they changed the name Mamuska now.
Yeah,
it changed a little bit, but basically it's the same thing.
It's the same type of tradition.
Yeah, and Pugsley, he's now grown. It's the testament of growing of age as being part of the Addams family. So that's the main focus. Then they have Wednesday, she wants to be like a regular kid that wears color.
And it almost takes an approach similar to Addams Family Values, where she's not fitting in as an outsider, and she starts wreaking havoc to like some of the other like bullies and shit.
Which is funny because the main bully in this actually resembles the bitch from the
Addams
evil
Family Values.
From Values, the evil, mean fucking girl from the Boy Scout camp thing they were at, or the summer camp.
Summer camp, yeah.
Yeah, she resembles her big time. But other than that, there's not much you could really go on to, because this is like anime shows I've seen in the past. It's a pretty straightforward story. So with that being said, with the cons I will say that the villain it's very anticlimactic. The villain, for one, I get her purpose, but it's really just too straightforward to get into her character.
Yeah.
And it ends they defeat her like very easily.
Well, and it's also a very uninteresting type of plot they do, because really, other than when it's not focusing really on the actual like story, the story of the Addamses. The movie does kind of center away, and it becomes a little bit uninteresting and plotting with the whole reality TV stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Which I have to go back to another movie that did that, The Truman Show, with the whole kind of like cameras everywhere and shit. I kind of like that.
Yeah,
I do kind of like that, but it loses its potential with it.
Yeah. And well, anyways, when it got to like presenting them, and really the bully girl in this one, they really just lose her out, like don't even bring her back in the story, which was a little disappointing.
But I also going back to
and the school, she went back to school for like a day or two, because Wednesday she wants to be a normal kid and attend school and stuff, and really other than a few scenes, it's pretty much forgotten too.
Pretty much, yeah.
You could tell, like, once they got into like where the villain is like starting to turn bad and wants to do something towards Addams family, you could tell now the movie's rushed.
It is.
It becomes very rushed.
Yeah, and it seems like it would have been probably better if they focused more on the little subplots they had to turn that into the main arc, because those I found more interesting. It's just that they're overshadowed by the other stuff. Yeah. And so, that was a big downer. And there are times where some of the jokes can be a little bit rinse and repeat, like when you have Fester getting shot by the arrow, which is funny at times, but it does some of it gets a little repetitive.
It gets repetitive, and I will say that a lot of characters are underused in this, like and Fester isn't as big as you would probably predict he'd be, but he's still there.
And the grandma.
The grandma in this one don't live with him, which was kind of a change.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, really, there ain't much we can really say. I don't think it's horrible, like I've heard from people, that I've heard from. I'm not going to compare it to a live-action movie. That's unfair, because obviously the live-action is going to outdo it.
Well, yeah, and it's also action. They're two different mediums too.
So you can't go against each other. But I will say that they could have done a lot better with this, but I still enjoyed it more than what people were warning me about. Because I had people telling me it was one of the worst animated shows of the year.
I'm like, no.
I don't agree with that. So, I mean, there ain't nothing. Oh, I did like the little hint towards the '60s one where it went black and white, where they're doing that, they're all sitting with each other and they're singing the song.
Yep.
Yeah, I did like that. But other than that, I don't want to spoil much. So, with that being said, I'm gonna be a little generous here. I'm gonna go a high average Joe in a Film Phreeks meter.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm going with a high average on the Film Phreeks meter as well.
I do feel like, because we saw Gemini Man earlier, and you'll watch our review on that. I did find this movie to be a little bit better than Gemini Man.
Yeah, this one I thought was more entertaining than that film was because well, it had a lot more fun. It was a lot more fun.
Fun factor.
Yeah. So. For those of you who have also seen the Addams Family and also the other Addams Family mediums too, including the show and the original movies, let us know in the comments below what you thought about them. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and check out some of our reviews here and our website at filmphreeks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.